Have you looked deeper? When you do, what do you see? I know you are awake. I can see you. Yes, you. I'm talking to you. Look deeper. What can you see? If you are not seeing anything, that means your eyes cannot go far. We need to sharpen your eyes. If your eyes can go far, yet you can't see, then your eyes are closed. Open them and see. Do you have worries? Of course you should have worries. Life without worries is not worth living. It is the solution to worries that make life exciting. Why do you doubt it? Why do you feel we are not flying? Who said, "Can't you see?" We are flying. The skies are ours to keep. We have wings. So why are you not flying? But I can see some in the sky. O nation, have no fear. The goodness you dream of, the long-awaited goodness is here. Happy people, beautiful people, I have come to tell you a story. The story is about you. Strong people, why do you doubt that we are not flying? The time has come. The beautiful ones have been born. For nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. The program is State Affairs. I am Edmondo Pilo. Let's look at this. If you search history, it is filled with the blueprints of nations taking different paths to development. And when you examine these ones, you give it to them. They are the architects of these physical and political structures that we analyze. But for every nation that has risen to illuminate the world, countless others have crumbled, not from external invasion, but from internal decay. Are you in class? Yes, you can be sitting before the radio, but to be in class is to be in the spirit of the show. To be in that spirit, you must lift your mind. Throw your burdens down. For every nation that has risen to illuminate the word, countless others have crumbled, not from external invasion, but from internal decay. There is an older, more fundamental blueprint for national development. And this blueprint is one that doesn't begin in parliament, but in the human heart. When it is said, "Obey your father and mother, and your days will be long," it is a law. Children, obey your father and mother, and your days will be long. The beauty of a nation is the beauty of the family. The character of Nigeria is the character of majority of Nigerian families. That is what reflects as national character. The character of Nigeria is the character of majority of Nigerian families. So take note that it is time to fly so high. We are building aeroplanes and we are flying so high. I talk about an admonition, one that speaks not to the led, but first and foremost to the leaders, suggesting that the cornerstone of any great civilization is not granite. It is not granite. It is character. Remember the words of the teacher. A man will reach his best by purifying himself, and he can only do this by pursuing a process of self-examination and self-analysis. The teacher says, the selfishness must be discovered and understood before it can be removed. It is powerless to remove itself, neither will it pass away of itself. The teacher is not done. Darkness ceases only when light is introduced. So ignorance can only be dispersed by knowledge, and selfishness by love. In our time, this will be the code for the nation. This will be the code of the nation. With this code, we will redefine national character. The teacher says, a man must first of all be willing to lose himself. Self-seeking, before he can find himself. A man must realize that selfishness is not worth clinging to, that it is a master altogether unworthy of his service, and that goodness alone is worthy to be enthroned in his heart. This is a national code for development. The beautiful ones have been born. Arise, O nation! For nations to rise, the human spirit must rise. This is the ultimate, non-negotiable term of reference for authentic leadership. It posits that the primary duty of a leader is not to build a nation, but to build a self worthy of building a nation. Hey, are you there? Okay. Listen. The primary duty of a leader is not to build a nation, but to build a self worthy of building a nation. It means leaders who build great nations are imbued with integrity, wisdom, and selfless service, from which alone a just and prosperous society can emerge. Hey, the radio man is here. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. On the front page of the Saturday Nation, The Nation on Saturday. Borno abductions. Don't succumb to fear, Tinubu tells Nigerians. Orders rescue of abductees. Commends troops. Zulum visit victims. Pledges rescue of abductees. As the time draws nearer, await the coming of a people's army. The people's army. The army that would defend every inch of the land. There will be no ungoverned spaces. Rejoice. Rejoice, for the people's army has come. The bandits you see today, you will see no more. A land of peace, born out of justice, has been born. Open your eyes. Fly. We are building aeroplanes, and we are flying so high. On the front page of the Nation, why we are impeaching Kanu Deputy Governor Gwozo by lawmakers. Wife battery allegation against member rocks Cross River Assembly. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. Show love to your wife. Your wife is a diamond, so precious. Women are beautiful. Women are born goddesses, and they deserve to be worshipped. A land where wives are happy produces fruitful children. O nation, take care of your wives. Take care of your mothers. He who finds a wife finds a good thing. The Nation has this headline on its front page. Jimoh Ibrahim is Nigeria's UN permanent rep. Fani Kayode gets Germany. Omokri, Mexico. Dambazo heads to China. Ikbazu, Iguanyi others get postings. President inaugurates Grid Asset Management Company. Grid Asset Management Company Committee. President inaugurates Grid Asset Management Company Committee. Gbajabiamila chairs panel to fast-track power sector reforms. 30 banks meet CBN's recapitalization requirement. 30 banks meet CBN's recapitalization requirement. You find that on the front page of The Nation. How Tinubu Saved Me from Impeachment by Ayedatiwa says all 26 state lawmakers signed notice to remove him. Claims Akeredolu anointed him his successor. All right, those are the headlines on the front page of The Nation. You will also find this on the front page of the paper. OPL 245, Adoke Hills President demands apology from federal government. Apology. Who wants an apology? All right. I apologize on behalf of the country for making you poor. I apologize. I apologize that you have driven your cars on bad roads over the years. I apologize. I apologize that UCH has fallen. Accept my apology, O nation. That University College Hospital, Ibadan, has fallen. That a place of health has become a place of pain. I apologize. Let me let you know that UCH will rise again. UCH will treat you well in the days to come. It will be a global center of healthcare. University College Hospital, in the days to come, will be a global center of healthcare. On the front page of the Saturday Vanguard, Iran behind terrorism in Nigeria, Israeli ambassador. It is well documented that the Islamic movement of Nigeria is backed by the Iranian government. That is a rider on the front page of the Saturday Vanguard. Let me hear your voice. Sholareo is here. Shola is mega child. Good morning. Oil marketers raise pump price to 1,100 naira per litre. Did I hear you scream? Have no fear. Good morning.
Sir,
Good
how is your
morning.
weekend going? Nice hearing your voice again. I
Thank
think you have some reasons to apologize for. I don't want to go there for now, but as far as the case of Nigeria is concerned, insecurity, I think it beyond the capacity of our military personnel. I think we need the foreign assistance. It looks like our soldiers are powerless and they cannot even render any assistance to teeming population of Nigerians. Let America come, even if Canada can come, if UK can come to rescue Nigerians. Was it not last week or last week you mentioned something, Edmund, about the demise of Barrister Ichioroka? As a painful information you broke. We were not aware. I don't know why last silence over the death of that man. May he so rest in perfect peace. Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, sir.
Thank you. Ichioroka lived a quiet life. And in death, he also wanted it quiet. And I want it quiet too. Barrister Ichioroka is no more. Duneladi is no more. But they left their imprints behind. Rejoice, they have done their own. Their voices echo in our hearts. Why Nigeria is in a mess. You'll find that on the front page of the Saturday Vanguard. Why Nigeria is in a mess by Pat Utomi. He says our judiciary dead, buried. Our judiciary dead, buried. Is the judiciary dead? Who buried it? Something is about to happen. Can't you see? Hey, rejoice. Patu Tommy says we are better off without 2027 polls. We are better off without 2027 polls. No matter how long, INEC officials will go to jail over 2023 polls. No matter how long, INEC officials will go to jail over 2023 polls, says Patu Tommy. All right. Rivers. Amechi's house attacked, ADC's office set ablaze. Set ablaze. Who set ablaze the conscience of the state? Those who set fire on the state will be burnt. Those who have destroyed the conscience of the land will be saved from their ignorance. Those who have destroyed the conscience of the land will be saved from their ignorance. Call the radio station 070694 930 070144 757 70 070 694 930 070 144 75770. Call the radio station. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. This is Velua calling from Ibadan. It's nice again to be in class this morning, in the class of politics and power. I just want to chip in one or two regarding what you said about we should not entertain fear. That the bandits we see today, he said we shall see them no more. But we will still see them more and more. I know you spoke in parable there, but we understand what exactly is going on in this country. One thing that I'm very sure of is this banditry can end in less than 1 year if the country is ready to do the right thing. And here we are, still parabolating, rubbing palm oil on a wound that has been there for a very long time, and we don't want it to heal up. Let me just be hopeful, or let me just put it this way, that sooner Nigerians will rise, and that thing that the government wants, they will get it. Thank you very much.
Thank you for calling the radio station. Good morning. Okay, I wasn't speaking in parable. I was clear that the bandits you see today, you will see no more. Have no fear. Call the radio station.
Hello, good morning, Edmond.
Good morning. Happy to hear you.
Yeah, Edmond. I'm happy to be with you once again in this class this morning. Edmond, I love your optimism. I love the way you have been trying to lift our spirit day by day. They know that Nigeria will rise. They know that Africa will rise. But let's face the fact here. Nigeria cannot fly. Even we not run. Even we not walk. With this set of leaders that we are parading in this nation, Nigeria will go nowhere. If you are still parading this set of leaders ruling us, they can never take us anywhere. They will never take us anywhere. Thereby, we have a president that appoints people into political office based on benefit, based on who has helped me before, based on who helped my money. When we have leaders that are putting people into places, that it is not based on merit, never based on quality, never based on competence, we continue to have this kind of situation. It's very good to be optimistic, but we need to be critical at all times. Our leaders, they are not visionary leaders. They are leaders that are looking beyond 5 years or 10 years, or they are always looking ahead for the next election. That's how far their vision carries them each time they are campaigning. Cannot like this president now, he did not see 2027. After 2027, he has to offer us anymore. So until we change the narrative, until we change the situation that we are parading, continue to move in circles. We continue to languish in poverty. We continue to experience the kind of difficulties that we are seeing. Thank you. I'm enjoying the class already.
Akimbolu Shere.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Simon. Well done. God bless you, sir. My name is Inyobon. Okay. You said we should believe that the bandits and terrorists we see today, we won't see them again. He said it's good. We are hopeful for good things. But the question I want to ask, who are those people that will bring down the terrorists? Is it the soldiers that have already been compromised? Is it the government that are part of the terrorism? Or is it the harmless citizens that will confront the terrorists of Boko Haram? So these are my questions, because I'm just confused and concerned of those who will bring down terrorism in Nigeria. Thank you. My name is Nyobo.
Thank you, Inyobong. Thank you. The purification of the self is the duty of man. Purification of the self is more demanding than any budget negotiation or military campaign. Purification of the self requires a rigorous, ongoing process of self-examination and self-analysis. As you call the radio station, examine yourself. Examine yourself deeply. Watch your actions keenly. Examine everything you did yesterday and place the right judgment on them. A leader incapable of self-examination, that inner practice, is like a captain who sets sail without ever checking his compass or the soundness of his hull. That leader is at the mercy of every gust of wind, the wind of public opinion, the wind of personal ambition, the wind of flattery and fear. His decisions are not born of principle, but of impulse and self-preservation, and the people he governs suffer poverty, violence, and helplessness. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. The program is State Affairs.
State Affairs with Edmond Nobilo is live. Stay tuned.
Mommy!
The program is State Affairs. I am Edmond Nobilo. My guest is the author of the book, Duneladi Reporting, Memoirs of a News Hound. Duneladi is the Executive Chairman, Broadcasting Corporation of Oyo State. Mr. Oyelade, it's good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you. I'm pleased to be here.
You have written a book that led me to asking myself, what is it about media power that rattles members of the political class? The story of Unlunloyo, as narrated by you here, talks about media power. So what is it about media power?
Well, I think just like the blurb of my book indicates, I quoted a particular powerful author there that says, a playwright really, of all those arts in which the wise excel, nature's chief masterpiece is writing well. Those who cobble that popular adage that the pen is mightier than the gun did not make a mistake. It is a veritable truth, a veritable truism. You see, the power of the pen, the power of the media, when employed and deployed effectively, meets its own match nowhere else. It is the most sustainable and the most powerful instrument of change in the world. The media, over time, in all spheres of human endeavor, in all countries, have proven to be the redeemer of systems. I give you an example. Between 1980 and 1981, during the Falkland War between Britain and Argentina, the decisive blow that made Britain, under Thatcher then, to win the war, the Falkland War, was the effective decoy, propaganda, and helpful disinformation which the British media employed.
Did you say disinformation?
Oh yes, this is debatable, but to me, every propaganda has elements of disinformation. So yes, I did say disinformation because the media can be used in connivance with government to bail itself out. Government can use the media to bail itself out of troubles, which willingly or inadvertently every government runs into every now and then. Look at the Daily Mail in England as I talk to you. A veritable supporter of the Conservatives. It got to a point where not even the Daily Mail could help because of the torrents and tumbling sequence of fiscal and political mistakes that Liz Truss is making. To answer your question, yes, the media power, as you put it, is not a mirage. It is a reality.
So how did Duneladi and TSOS in the Second Republic under Bola Ige deploy television to annoy the MPN?
Well, the story of the television service of Oyo State is not a peculiar one, but it can be couched in rebellion. We had the Shehu Shagari administration between 1979 and 1983, and it was widely known that state governments, especially those that were not in the same political tune with the federal government, will be diminished one way or the other. So the television.
But I must warn that I have written only for those Nigerians who are prepared to learn, to study, to make painstaking research, to absorb prejudices, and to think systematically and constructively. Up to now, it is the habit with many of us to approach the titanic, intricate, and pressing problems of our country with blameworthy casualness, insufficient study and research, loose and desultory thinking, supercilious complacency, deep-seated prejudices, and insensate partisanship. I've deliberately ventured to invite all our leaders in particular, and the entire body of educated Nigerians in general, to a more serious, more objective, more thoughtful, more constructive, and more altruistic approach to our economic, political, and social problems.
State Affairs with Edmond Obilo is live.
So she's had quite a foray, and I think that has a lot of meaning in the choice of these 5 individuals who then, beyond even shaping country, went on to affect the globe in such tremendous ways.
Look at what you wrote about Ngozi here. You said Ngozi lived with her grandmother in the village until she was 9. Growing up in the village under the care of her grandmother was a mixed experience for Ngozi. She missed having her parents around throughout the years they were away pursuing their graduate studies in Germany.
Yes.
This Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of World Trade Organization
thank you.
Grew up in the village.
In the village. She's the first child of her parents. And her grandmother was taking care of herself and her younger siblings. So she wasn't only responsible for herself, she was responsible for managing the care of her younger ones. So by the age of 9, she was cooking, she was cleaning. So, you see these people as very accomplished. You think that they were born, with a silver spoon or, in such luxury. No, she developed her grit from village life.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
But given our historical cowardice, some of the indices that they had factored into their calculation didn't hold true. For instance, Jonathan did not find the courage to stand against Buhari in 2015. He walked away. That was not African. The average.
He didn't find the courage.
He didn't find the courage.
What did you expect him to do?
Would you have seen an Obasanjo walk away? It had to be a Jonathan to walk away. That's the first person in Nigeria who could not even guarantee his own election.
He didn't win.
Since when has that mattered? Did Tinubu win? Did Buhari win in 2019?
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
When he started his nationalist movement in Ghana, he invited me to come over and witness one of their turnouts. I went there and then I advised him. I said, look, what you're trying to do now might lead to bloodshed. He said, yes. He said, unless you fight and kill, you will not succeed. So I said, no. I said, well, did Gandhi kill anybody? Did Nehru kill anybody? He said, what, if you don't do that? He said, if you don't do that, they'll kill you. I said, where is Gandhi? I made it clear to Nkrumah that we should not use force. Even though they may laugh at us, I said, well, he said, but the British use force. I said, yes. I said, but I have been using my argument with the British. I said, speak out your mind. Give out your views. I said, in other words, dialogue. I said, we will use dialogue in Nigeria.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Let me tell you how I discovered this man also. Burna Boy song, As I Dey Hustle Like Adebayo Ogunlesi. You know that there's a song anyway. So anywhere I go, mo lati pada sile mi. And in that phrase, he has, a whole line that celebrates this Adebayo Ogunlesi. So I said, who is this guy? So I started studying. Now, sometime last year, 2024 or late 2020, last year, 2024, Adebayo Ogunlesi broke the internet when his company was bought over by BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the major investment, firms in the entire world. And they bought his shares, they bought over his company for $12 billion cash, $12.5 billion, and then stock options. So the internet scattered.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Chapter 9 of the book is The Perfect Storm and the Inevitable Implosions.
It's inevitable.
Do you have a date?
Frankly, I'm surprised that we are still here and it hasn't happened yet. But it's just a matter of time. The human spirit rebels against injustice.
Will it happen in Tinubu's time?
It might very well be what will happen by the time he's seeking a second term. Because he can't get popular support.
You sure?
Why would you vote a man that has ruined everybody's lives? The only people who have benefited from Tinubu's reign are the members of the reigning class. They've become richer off the sufferings of the people. It's just a matter of time.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Will you support Peter Obi in 2027?
That will be dependent on a whole lot of things. As things stand today, the ADC where Peter resides is the same as the APC of 2015. All I see is the person of Peter Obi. Outside of the person of Peter Obi, I don't see any reason why I would want to look in the direction of the ADC. What's his program? What are the programs the ADC intends to pursue? I'm not interested in a change of government. I'm interested in a change of systems. I want a different country. I don't believe that will happen just because Peter Obi is in the ADC. What is the ADC selling to the Nigerian people? The Nigerian people bought illusions in 2015. I don't want to buy an illusion in 2027. I believe in the character of Peter Obi. I know he's an uncommon politician, miles ahead of the peers with whom he struggles.
You know him well?
Let me put it this way. A person is as much of a problem for the Tinubu hegemony as Peter has been. And the EFCC has not managed to invite him to carry him. The DSS has no business calling him to order. ICPC has not sent him an invitation. And you are dealing with a system that is extremely vindictive. Bola Tinubu is by far one of the most vindictive of politicians, and he doesn't monkey about with power. He uses power. If he has an hammer with which to kill a fly, he wouldn't use a broom. And yet they are looking at Peter Obi. They can't call him to come and answer one case or the other.
Perhaps they are waiting for the right time.
When would the right time now come?
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
I have some books with me here, about 5 of them. This first one is entitled Wole the Lion Heart. Wole the Lion Heart. Wole Soyinka the Lion Heart. It is part of Role Model Series for African Children by Idem Dorothy Osai. There's another one here. Kanu the Great. Kanu the Great. That is Kanu Nwankwo. You see his picture here. Kanu the Great. And it's part of the Role Model Series, Volume 1. By Idem Dorothy Osai. There is also Adebayo the Guru. Adebayo the Guru. It is part of Volume 1 of Role Model Series by Idem Dorothy Osai. The 4th in the list is Bolanle the Pioneer. Bolanle the Pioneer. That is Professor Bolanle Awe, the Pioneer. Her story is in this book and is part of Role Model Series for African Children, Volume 1, by Idem Dorothy Osai. There's also Ngozi the Patriot. Ngozi the Patriot. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, the Patriot. So you have 5 books in this Volume 1. Wole the Lion Heart. Kanu the Great. Adebayo the Guru, Adebayo Ogunlesi, and Bolanle the Pioneer, Professor Bolanle Awe, Ngozi the Patriot, Idem Dorothy Osai is on State Affairs.
Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala's father
taught in the University of Ibadan. It was when Biafra broke out that he felt that his people needed him more at home. And so he made that decision. And then, the UNN had just invited him to be a senior lecturer. UI had also just promoted him to be a senior lecturer. But by that time, the news, the air was very tense with, the call for the succession of, the East. And so at that point in time, I think it was for him a very personal decision to go back home to his origins and to lend his intellect and physical strength and support to that cause, because they genuinely believe that Nigeria at its core was not, did not represent equity and justice. And so that was something he was willing to put his academic gown down for and pick up. He fought. He was a lieutenant in the battle with Ojukwu, So, yes, his family was here. And that was why I think they decided that Ngozi should start her secondary school education here. When she started in St. Anne's, she eventually moved to ISI, So she's had quite a foray. And, I think that has a lot of meaning in the choice of these 5 individuals who then, beyond even shaping country, went on to affect the globe in such tremendous ways.
Look at what you wrote about Ngozi here. You said Ngozi lived with her grandmother in the village until she was 9. Growing up in the village under the care of her grandmother was a mixed experience for Ngozi. She missed having her parents around throughout the years they were away pursuing their graduate studies in Germany.
Yes.
This Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of what trade organization
Thank you.
grew up in the village?
In the village. She's the first child of her parents. And her grandmother was taking care of herself and her younger siblings. So she wasn't only responsible for herself, she was responsible for managing the care of her younger ones. So by the age of 9, she was cooking, she was cleaning. So, you see these people as very accomplished. You think that they were born, with a silver spoon or, in such luxury. No, she developed her grit from village life. She was sleeping on the floor. You know how village life is. So she wasn't a woman surrounded by lavish or excess.
By this time, her parents had gone to Germany to study.
Thank you. So even though her grandmother was a loving woman, mom and dad are not there. So it's tough love. You've got to, so this was a girl who grew up with discipline ingrained in her.
She saw the Civil War.
She saw the Civil War. Her education was even interrupted during the Civil War.
For 2 years, she could not go to school.
Couldn't go to school. They were, you see, air raids. Air raids, bombs are dropping, and communities you visited, markets you visited months and weeks ago, you come back and see it decimated.
There was something unique about her. She grew up in a family that loves knowledge.
Yes. Apart from her parents, all her uncles went on to hold, at least, those surrounding her were all PhD holders. In fact, when she went to university, she was of the mind that she would be an academic. She would go and teach. Because that was the world, that was what was in front of her. Everybody was a teacher. Her uncles were all professors, they were lecturers in universities.
Her father was a lecturer.
Her mother was you understand? So this was an academic family. She thought she would get her PhD and go on to lecturing.
And she got her PhD from MIT.
Yes.
An Ivy League.
An Ivy League
She went to
institution.
Harvard.
Yes. And graduated summa cum laude. So with distinction.
A
girl who came from the village, ravaged by a civil war, able to withstand the influences of one of the greatest institutions. When you say greater, what it means is that it's, traditional institutions in the United States like that are enclaves of learning, citadels of learning, pushing forth ideas, and then in such a liberal Western order. So it's radically different from the world that you come from. To maintain your focus, to go in with a sense of understanding of who you are, and a confidence that I'm enough. Because a lot of children, when they enter into such a space, they get lost because the influence is, it's dominating. So you either adapt, you code shift, you switch to fit in. So it talks about a lot of the foundational, the foundations of a woman like that they had imbued in her a sense of self, a sense of who your father is. To remember the child of whom you are. It is a child who remembers the father of whom she is or he is, and who feels confident that my father is good enough. That is why I'm bringing out books like this. Because the world now is a globalized chat room. If our children will walk in and not shrink, and they walk in boldly, they must believe in their father's name. They must believe that who their father is as good as any other person's father. And it's difficult because when you come from a society like ours where everything around you is reminding you that it is failing. In fact, the conversations we have in our average home, we're all lamenting. We're in a cycle of lamenting. Your children are picking it. So what is happening subtly is that there's a self-hatred that is forming in the African child. A sense of self-defeat, that the minute they're in a place of a global room with other people who are showing skyscrapers or subways and trains that are moving at the speed of light, they immediately feel intimidated. They immediately feel worthless. They immediately quail in shame and they can't assert themselves. And they allow the dominance of these other cultures and the influences of these other cultures to shape their decisions going forward. A girl like this is an example to put in front of children, that going with the sense that you come from a rich ancestry of people who conquered wildlands, savannas, mountaintops. We may not have skyscrapers, but in our ecology, we conquered nature. Man has dominated Earth. We have evidence of that. And in the systems that we've evolved into, financial sectors like Adebayo Ogunlesi, public sectors like Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, finance, Bolanle Awe, who resisted Britain and told them Africa has its own history that is capable of being studied as an academic discipline. We've proven, Myrtle, that even with your own language, you see, this is not even a language that is, intrinsic or inherent to us. We took another man's language and assimilated another society's knowledge systems. And these people have still managed to shine because it's a dissonance. They've divorced us from who we are, but still we took who they are and we're still excelling. I need our children to see evidence that our ancestors and their fathers are capable and competent. So don't shrink yourself. Don't change yourself. Don't announce that, I'm from California, where you are from, just because, they gave birth to you. So a lot of things are happening. And in our homes are outposts for America and Britain. Your house in Bodija is an embassy for the United Kingdom. So I need to put these images and stories and narratives before our children because the world order now is globalized and everybody is trying to measure the contributions of every race and every civilization. That is the purpose.
State Affairs with Edmondo Below is live.
Adebayo
Ogunlesi,
the guru, the investment banker.
The investment guy.
I didn't know about him on time.
A lot of people. Let me tell you how I discovered this man also. Burna Boy song, As I Dey Hustle Like Adebayo Ogunlesi. That there's a song anyway. So anywhere I go, mo lati pada sile mi. And in that phrase, he has, a whole line that celebrates this Adebayo Ogunlesi. So I said, who is this guy? So I started studying. Now, sometime last year, 2024 or late 2020, last year, 2024, Adebayo Ogunlesi broke the internet when his company was bought over by BlackRock. BlackRock is one of the major investment, firms in the entire world. And they bought his shares, they bought over his company for $12 billion cash, $12.5 billion, and then stock options. So the internet scattered. Prior to this time, he's a quiet guy, has always wanted to be, outside the limelight, but a powerful achiever. So a lawyer turned investment banker. For many years was a Wall Street banker. The first and only black guy to rise to CEO directorship levels in the Wall Street Bank in America. Banking in America is a traditionally white institution. You now see this black guy. He's not just heading a department or a unit, right? He's heading, entire risk management. Then at some point, it was rumored that he was going to, after the dot-com bubble, there was this whole scandal. Warren Buffett, who's a major investor in the Swiss General Bank that he was heading, they were about to appoint Adebayo Ogunlesi. He would have been the first ever black CEO of a major Wall Street bank in America. But after the dot-com bubble, I think the man had had enough. So at the age of 56, just at the point when he was about to be announced as the first black man in a traditionally white institution, bank in America, he walked away and went and 56. So a lot of people have written off themselves and their lives and their 40s. Went and started his entrepreneurial journey and founded his investment, firm, Global Infrastructure Partners.
At 56.
At 56, right? Yeah, good thing is his networks. He could rally around some funding, but he was mocked. That this small firm, I like the underdog. I like the stories of people who dare to start, because life is, everything starts from little seeds. So this guy takes his small network, musters some small investments, and begins to begins to make investments. Fast forward less than half a decade after, less than 5 years, he owns 3 international airports: London City Airport, Gatwick Airport. What's the other airport in the United Kingdom that his firm owns? Begins to make major investments. They own Italy's rail infrastructure, and and every infrastructure he invests in, he transforms. So waiting time, response time in the airports, he makes those little changes that makes the experience and the service, more, just enjoyable for customers.
He's a transformer.
A transformer. And the kind of investments this man is making, places where people don't go to, places where people don't have the liver, the courage to go to. Let me shock children. Adebayo Ogunlesi hated maths as a child, struggled with maths as a child. But you know what this guy did? This is why I write these stories for young people. When he went on to Harvard to do his grad school in law, he went and put himself to do an MBA. At the same time, with a law degree, a master's in law. He was running 2 master's programs concurrently. MBA is all quantitative, it's maths. He said he wanted to put himself in the middle of numbers so that he will conquer the fear of numbers. You don't run away from your weaknesses. You go and sharpen them. You go and build them. You go and build them. That's what this man did. So when we're celebrating, he owns this airport, he owns this, there is a story there. And that's what I put in the hands of our children.
You said the man who bought Gatwick Airport. At London Gatwick Airport, the company again introduced innovations such as oversized luggage trays that cut security screening times by more than half.
Absolutely.
That's innovation.
Innovation.
Freeing passengers to spend more in restaurants and shops where GIP received a concession. These boosted revenues as expected. 3 years later in 2012, GIP bought another major airport, the Edinburgh Airport, which was described as the busiest airport in Scotland and the 9th busiest airport in Europe.
Yeah, in Europe.
In 2019 alone, the airport handled over 14.7 million passengers. He knows how to make money.
He knows how to make money.
Africa needs money.
We do.
But good money.
Good money. Good money that builds, and there's something you can see what it is. Where's the money around?
Yes, you can connect it to
products and services.
Yeah.
You can connect it. We have examples, living examples. Let's put that in front of our children. We can build big businesses around new kinds of tires that can fit our old roads.
When you were writing these works, what was going through your mind?
You know how you want to look for a building and fly off that building, because you just feel like, we have capes, invisible capes. We can conquer the world. We can build our own civilization that will attract people to come and witness it. We have the intellect. We have people because you see, sometimes it's hard. You're surrounded by, forgive me, the most shallow leaders and politicians. And suddenly you're going into places and children are calling the names of politicians. And now you are in a world where the only denominator of success is money.
Why is it so? Because it's money.
It's an era we live in, and it's compounded by social media, because social media shows you the finished product, whether it's the individual, so you never see the process. So you see, stories like this show you process. An Instagram page doesn't show you process. It shows you a finished good. It shows you a finished individual. It shows
Sometimes
you a
they are
final
fake
individual.
finishing.
A lot of it is fake. A lot of it, if I want to look at it now, the 24 hours today, most of my day I've been rough, I've been hustled, I've made this. But when I want to show the Instagrammers, I'll go and do my makeup. I'll go and sit in a nice corner of my house. In fact, you should be skeptical at any picture you see on social media because it's fiction as far as I'm concerned. It's fictional. A lot of the images we put out there are fictional elements of our lives. They are how we want our lives to be, right? They are the 1 minute of the rest of the entire day. They're just a simple nugget. They're not the entirety of our lives. But that's what we're putting in front of children now. And the whole generation is seeing finished goods. Finished. They're not seeing the factory.
Is this encouraging fraud? Because you see young persons now, they are Yahoo boys.
Yeah.
And they are proud of it.
Yeah.
You see young ladies,
yeah,
they are on the streets.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, to be fair, I wouldn't say it's a compound of other factors. It's also a factor of when merit fails. So yes, on the one hand, you're seeing images of what success looks like, and success only looks like, fame and money, right? So that's social media's rule. But then the lanes that are the merit lanes are not yielding the outcomes that merit lanes were supposed to yield. So if after I went through process and I didn't get the desired outcome, what it signals to the young individual is that this is a foolish road to take. Going all these years through a rigorous education and at the end of it, you can't guarantee yourself a job is a foolish man's choice, right? So we are sending signals that continuously, reprogram people's mindsets towards or against process. Societies that want people to take the path of merit must prove to society, to their children and generations, that merit does indeed yield reward.
And that's what you've done with these books.
That's what I'm showing.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Thus, Edem Osai, author of Role Model Series for African Children. She is a lawyer and development expert with over 15 years working in education, gender, and youth policy. As the founder of Mentoring Assistance for Youth and Entrepreneurs Initiative, Mayan, a Nigerian non-profit working to advance young people's development, Edem has led the planning, implementation, and review of programs and policies in inclusive education, gender equality, and youth civic inclusion across sub-national, national, and Africa regional levels. As a result of her impact, in 2016, Edem Osai was appointed as a Mandela Washington Fellow by United States Department, and in 2018, she was selected as an inaugural Obama Scholar by the former United States President, Barack Obama's foundation. Edem is married with 2 brilliant daughters. Have you read her books? The first volume has 5 books. Adebayo the Guru, Ngozi the Patriot, Bolanle the Pioneer, Wole Soyinka the Lionheart, Kanu the Great, Kanu Nwankwo, Papilo. You want to order the Role Model series? Visit udarabooks.com. udarabooks.com. That is where you will find them. The lines are open. Call the radio station 070 694 930 00 070 75770.
Hello, Edmond. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, this is Benga from Old Ife Road. It was a shock to hear about Barrister Erujuka's death. It really shattered my heart this morning. very nice man. When he calls, he goes straight to the point and very precise. Doesn't waste time. Oh my God. May his gentle soul rest in perfect peace. Yes, the area I want to talk about this morning, honestly, is as regards the crisis in the Middle East, which is affecting our oil sector here in Nigeria. Now, the what am I saying? The cost of why the price of oil, crude oil, increased is because of the crisis, and Dangote could have not changed the price if not that is importing crude from outside. Now, if NNPC were able to give him crude, okay, the price will not change. But why was NNPC unable to give him crude? It's because we have sold off all our crude outside during Buhari's regime. So I want people to understand what is really happening and why the price of oil is increasing now. So the point I'm trying to make is, why haven't they investigated that? And who are those that sat in that kind of MOU to have sold Nigerian's crude oil like that? So these are the issues to be addressed. And if they are not addressed, it will still continue to happen. The impunity will just continue. It's so sad, this kind of country we are in Nigeria. Sorry, good morning, Edmond.
Thank you. Thank you for calling. Don't be sad, okay? Don't be sad. Yeah, who want to explain? Buhari got loans and he paid in advance with our crude. Who knows what Tinubu is doing now? Because he's getting loans. He cannot even finance capital projects. Let me not go that lane. I don't want to go that lane. I don't want to go that lane. The lines are open. You see, when you call the radio station, you turn down the volume of your radio.
Yeah, turn it on. Turn it on.
All right, good morning.
Good morning, sir. I want to salute the courage of our writer there, the woman that brought you on here. She's a motivational writer. And if we have more of her to write books that will tell our youth that honesty is the best policy, it will be better for Nigeria. Because these days, it is becoming increasingly difficult to convince our youth that honesty is the best policy. When you try to convince them that honesty is the best policy, they want you to show them the results. But with this type of motivational writers, if our youth can get those books and read, at least there will be some kind of social change. So I urge the woman, the madam, to keep it up. God will continue to be with her. Thank you. God bless you. Iyolo Ogunsola on the line. Thank you.
Thank you. He still wanted to hear himself. And he heard himself. Because I could hear the radio in the background. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Edmond.
I can hear you. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
And the voice is so rich.
My name is Suleiman Matthew Abatunde. I'm calling from Ibadan here. Edmond, I share or loved your optimism about the statement you earlier said about Boko Haram or terrorism ending, which I also share. But the unfortunate thing is this, that this banditry or even bad governance will not end with this crop of leadership and followership that we have. We have a crop of leadership that are concerned about their self-centeredness. Some will call the current president a strategist, and now we call the proponent of those calling him a strategist. What have the strategy, turned out to you and I as a Nigerian? A man who strategized only for his own selfish interests, only to perpetuate himself in power, using an appointee of government to destabilize everywhere. Look at what happened in Rivers State, I think yesterday or 2 days ago, burning of ADC headquarters. With things like this, a country will never move on. Now, a lot of oppressed will be applauding the oppressors that said, oh, your parents come and take a loan for your children to go to university, which during their own time, they were giving scholarships. They were giving, they were sent to school almost free of charge. Now they are asking our parents and we parents to actually come in and take a loan to take our children to school, taking every opportunity, like what Madam was saying. You know, Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala is one fortunate being that during that time, there is a conducive environment for her to achieve whatever she wants to achieve. I want to tell you that there are billions of Nigerians that actually want to trend the path of Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, but there is no enabling environment that the government has created. Now, the kind of followership that we have a kind of followership that will not allow the development to come quickly that we are intended to come. Why? Because they are blinded by ethnicism, they are blinded by religion, they are blinded by blind political leaning. So much so that as I am talking now, when I drop my call, you hear an average Yoruba man will call me Omali, a bastard, because I am saying this. We Nigerians have to know that you and I and every other person that is outside government are the ones bearing the brunt of this misgovernance. Until we come to the realization and we broaden our mind to knowledge, and that's when we can actually governize this country for development. But with this crop of leaders that we have, development will be a mirage, which is not something I prayed for. Now we must, come 2027, we must take all of those sentiments away from ourselves. Just like Chuba Okadibu said, and I quote, he said, if you are, hello?
I can hear you.
Yes,
Go
he
on.
said, if you are emotionally attached to your tribe, religion, or political meaning, to the point that justice and truth become a secondary consideration, then your education and enlightenment become useless. So I think Nigerians should brace up, and actually take this country that belongs to us with our hands and begin to relegate all these mundane belief that we have. He's my person, he's my religion man, he's my tribal man. That will not take us anywhere. Good morning. God bless you, everyone.
Thank you for calling the radio station. It is Splash 105.5 FM, the integrity station. Stay tuned.
And to sink the biddings of the NPN administration of the time. So we were so audacious when we were at NTV Ibadan, later NTA. We were so audacious that we protested vehemently, not only by writing. I was a member of the committee set up by NTA Ibadan Union to look into ways of stopping the federal government from cocooning us, narrowing our space into the old Oyo state. We wanted to go to Lagos where the action was. And we went to court. We had the audacity to go to take our employers to court.
And the judge laughed at that.
Well, yes, indeed, he thought it was a joke, to say the least. He scoffed at the idea, and he used a very simple and kindergarten scenario to put our case under the bus. You know, he said, if you have a driver working under a motor owner, and the motor owner said, I want you to ply this route and come back home, but you argued that no, instead of stopping at Ogbomoso, I must have to get to Ilorin and possibly Bida, then come back so I can make some money. And the owner said, no, thank you. Do Ogbomoso and come back home. And then you protested. You have no stake in the purchase of the vehicle. You signed an agreement of employment before you did. But you see, we were so young and idealistic. And we thought, they can't do this to us. Even the law should know that we were being wronged, forgetting that the law is an ass and it follows a particular narrow, stiff path of its own. So we lost the case. But we were able to make a case for audacity in the profession.
And it's that audacity that many of you brought into TSOS.
We needed very little encouragement. When Uncle Bola Ige, as the governor then, of course he had his eye equally on 1983, his re-election. And it was barely a year before the election. And he knew that so many powerful forces were against his re-election. So, His Excellency, with due deference, Uncle Bola Ige needed us, but we needed him too.
And so
to vent our anger and vengeance on the unfair federal government.
You know, from your book, I was comparing the Bola Ige temperament and the Oluloyo temperament. TSOS did a story covering Bola Ige's staunch enemy at the time, a former commissioner of health, who had abandoned the UPN. And the television did a story that did not go down well with Ige. And he sued the station for libel, joining some of the presenters.
Yes.
How do you explain that temperament?
That's civilized containment of temper. Uncle Bola Ige showed sagacity and civilization in governance. Don't forget, he had the powers of life and death, so to say, over all the employees, including the administrator then, Dr. Yemi Farumbi. But he did not wield the stake. Rather, he did a very surprising but historical thing by taking us to court, like he was humoring us.
Yes.
You know.
It was fun while I was reading it.
Yes, I mean, he did. Now, that shows you what may be the difference between him and Dr. Omololu Oluloyo as governor.
Look at this page 98 of your book. You said one day, the governor, that is Omololu Oluloyo, summoned me to his office. And the first thing he said when I appeared before him was, "Now, I got you."
He said so.
And he burst into cynical laughter. You use the Yoruba word here, but let me let that be. You interpreted it as, "You are a bastard of Ogbomoso." A bastard of Ogbomoso.
My father, Samuel Babatunde Oyelade, was born June 21, 1912. He was a contemporary of people like Chief Esela Akintola, who was 2 years his senior. Okay? But their ancestral homes were not far away. They were neighbors, as it were. And my paternal grandfather, Jonathan Oyelade, in his cursive handwriting, was the one who gave me my birth certificate. So, and my mom, was born by Chief Amos Akinwale, the Seriki of Ogbomoso land, and a judge of the customary court. My home is Ile-Olo. I'm not a bastard. And my father built his first house here in Ibadan in 1958 at Ode-Olo. That was how it came about that the Ode-Olo of today was named Ode-Olo, because someone from Ile-Olo in Ogbomoso built his house there. Indeed, I could have, on a lighter note, I could have claimed Ibadan if I wanted to, but no, thank you. I'm from Ogbomoso. I'm not a bastard. I think, without meaning to vilify revered Dr. Omololu, you know, I've met quite a number of people in my life in the sojourn of my profession. Okay? None has the residual brilliance and sense of recollection as Dr. Omololu. I doff my heart for him. But because he's a human being, we had to regurgitate what he did.
He goes on, I heard that even your father was not in support of your professional activities.
True.
Neither were the Ogbomoso people.
True.
Yet you preferred to support Awolowo against your own kinsman, SL Akintola. Shame on you, his part.
Those were moments of definition in my life. You know, if you want to be a successful human being, you got to face the rough path too. But it redefined my determination that there must be something in me for Anulunloyo to feel so pissed with me. I decided to re-examine myself, and I saw a pass mark. I didn't look back ever since. He did me a favor. So did Obasanjo, by the way, who equally called me a bastard.
The program is State Affairs. I am discussing with Dotun Oyelade. He is the author of the book, Dotun Oyelade Reporting, Memoirs of a News Hound. What was it about your report? What did you do for Bola Ige that NPN leadership wanted to punish you after the elections, after they came to power in 1983?
You know, all over the world, the practice of journalism is largely subjective. That is the truth. Look at TASS in the Soviet Union, in Russia rather, today. TASS is a government agency that does the job of edifying and magnifying and godifying a guy called Putin. They are no less journalists simply because they do that. You know, the Yorubas say, Ibitio teba kaulukaluku moniawa. It is the circumstances of where you are that dictates largely who you are in your profession. So you see,
is live.
There was something unique about her. She grew up in a family that loves knowledge.
Yes, yes. Apart from her parents, all her uncles went on to hold, at least, those surrounding her were all PhD holders. In fact, when she went to university, she was of the mind that she would be an academic. She would go and teach. Because that was the world, that was what was in front of her. Everybody was a teacher. Her uncles were all professors, they were lecturers in universities.
Her father was a lecturer.
Her mother was you understand? So this was an academic family. She thought she too, she would get her PhD and go on to lecturing.
And she got her PhD from MIT.
Yes.
An Ivy League.
An Ivy League.
She went to Harvard.
Yes. And graduated summa cum laude. So with distinction.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. Splash FM 105.5.
From the regime of Homo sapiens, then you will have to say that journalism must be clinically, scientifically objective at all times. That you ain't gonna find. It is too idealistic and it does not tally with. That's not how the Lord configured this world.
So you were obviously subjective, working for Bola Ige against the candidacy of Victor Omololu Olunloyo.
The best way to gauge how objective you are is through popular opinions. Between 1979 and 1983, Uncle Bola Ige in Oyo State could hardly do any wrong. He was very popular. And you know, we were talking about the old Oyo. So he was very popular. And each time we go out, each time we went out at the period, people were always telling us that was a good report. So if we were doing what the people wanted, if we were saying what the people wanted to hear.
Did you read books on power? Everything and anything that I was just a voracious reader and I enjoyed reading.
And what did reading do to your mind?
It blew my mind up. I lost all sense of boundaries. You can't be a reader and be bound to a geographical location. When I was in Fidelity Grammar School, they had a very rich library of Commonwealth literature.
In secondary school?
In secondary school. Commonwealth literature. So, folk tales from New Zealand, from Australia, from Canada, all kind of Commonwealth countries donated books, literature books, compilation, antonyms. You had all kind of folk tales, volumes and volumes of them. It was fun. It was an escape. I'm right there in the bushes of Fiditi, but I'll be in the backwaters of New Zealand and Australia. I read Okuberry Finn. I read all those books when I was much. By the time we were in like Form 4, there was no James Ali Chase to read any longer because there was nothing else to do but read.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So, a lawyer turned investment banker for many years was a Wall Street banker. The first and only black guy to rise to CEO directorship levels in the Wall Street Bank in America. Banking in America is a traditionally white institution. You now see this black guy. He's not just heading a department or a unit, right? He's heading, entire risk management. Then at some point, it was rumored that he was going to, after the dot-com bubble, there was this whole scandal. Warren Buffett, who's a major investor in the Swiss General Bank that he was heading, they were about to appoint Adebayo Ogunlesi. He would have been the first ever black CEO of a major Wall Street bank in America. But after the dot-com bubble, I think the man had had enough. So at the age of 56, just at the point when he was about to be announced as the first black man in a traditionally white institution, bank in America, he walked away and went and 56. So a lot of people have written off themselves and their lives and their 40s. Went and started his entrepreneurial journey and founded his investment, firm, Global Infrastructure Partners.
At 56.
At 56, right?
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Chapter 9 of the book is The Perfect Storm and the Inevitable Implosions.
It's inevitable.
Do you have a date?
Frankly, I'm surprised that we are still here and it hasn't happened yet. But it's just a matter of time. The human spirit rebels against injustice.
Will it happen in Tinubu's time?
It might very well be what will happen by the time he's seeking his second term, because he can't get popular support.
You sure?
Why would you vote a man that has ruined everybody's lives? The only people who have benefited from Tinubu's reign are the members of the reigning class. They've become richer of the sufferings of the people. It's just a matter of time.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
Dele Farotimi is the author of the book Do Not Die in Their War. Look at the book, Dele Farotimi's book. Do not die in their wars. Dele Farotimi, former student union president at the Lagos State University, LASU, was called to the Nigerian bar in 1999. Dele Farotimi has another book, Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution. Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution. When I read this, I said, okay, Dele is saying something here. I read it again. I said, Dele Farotimi is saying something here. By the time I picked it up the third time, I said, no, we need to talk about it. That we need to talk about his book, Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution. Dele Farotimi on State Affairs. Welcome to this time. Welcome to another time of reflection. It's another time to understand. See, in this book, the author is angry. I am not. You know why? Listen. He says, how men have bent laws, how justice has been corrupted to the point where it no longer serves the purpose of the poor man, but the narrow interest of the few. Who are the few here? The author is not done. He continues. The inescapable conclusion I had come to years ago are the arguments contained in the current book, where I will endeavor to make a case for the inevitability of the inescapable conclusion that a revolution is the only way forward for the Nigerian people. Take note. The author says a revolution is the only way forward for the Nigerian people. I just read from this book, Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution by Dele Farotimi. Dele Farotimi is on State Affairs. Good to have you on State Affairs.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you.
How are you?
As best as can be in the circumstances of our country.
Has Nigeria happened to you?
Oh, it happens to the Nigerian every day. It's just the stage of our consciousness of what is happening to us that differs. Nigeria happens to the Nigerian every day. We seek to prevent Nigeria from happening to us Sometime in the morning, you find Nigerians waking up and crouching on the floor and praying against all the dangers of the country that they have built. So Nigeria is happening to them on a daily basis. And it happens to me as well. If I had to get up in my house at 4:29 this morning in order to make a court date in Ibadan when I shouldn't even be here in the first place, it begins to tell you about how Nigeria happens to us variously. Every time you have to do something that was not meant to be done, but you have to do it to survive the country in which you live, that is Nigeria happening to you. When you have to get out of your house as early as 5 o'clock in the morning to make your office for 8 o'clock, that is Nigeria happening to you. When you have to pay out of pocket for children's school fees when the education is meant to be free even at primary school level, or these children are going to schools that are best teaching illiteracy and you have to go out of pocket to get good schools, that is Nigeria happening to you. Nigeria happens to the Nigerian on a daily basis. Whether you are poor, rich, members of the ruling class, or one of their victims, Nigeria happens to all of us every day. It's the degree to which we are conscious of what is happening to us that differs from person to person.
Degree of consciousness.
Yeah, degree of consciousness.
What does that mean?
You have some nebulists in place of citizens, persons who are sleepwalking through life, perpetually making excuses for their oppressors and ruiners instead of focusing on what is happening to them and how to prevent that from being passed down to the next generation. They would rather make excuses on behalf of those who are ruining their lives. So it's a function of consciousness. If you are unaware of the fact that you are oppressed, you are more receptive to the idea of oppression. But the more aware you become, the more conscious you are, the more you can articulate the condition of the victim, you become a danger to the oppressive system, and you become an irritant to those who have become accepting of oppression. So,
well, in your book, you accepted that there's the weaponization of ignorance.
Yeah. The fact that I can identify it is suggestive of the fact that I'm not affected by that weaponized ignorance. The average Nigerian sit down on a daily basis and they are busy consuming news written for them by those who are looking to shape the narrative and focus their attention away from the real issues. They are told that it's the Christians. They are told that it's the Muslims. And these are coming through supposedly credible news channels. You do not have a media that questions any longer. Largely, the Nigerian media has become complicit. So who is teaching anybody? The weaponized ignorance comes in multiple fashion. Today in Nigeria, you don't have a national curriculum that is known to all. You don't have a national education curriculum that we can interrogate. It comes out piecemeal at the discretion of whoever is administering the system whenever they care, which is why you are getting all kind of funny textbooks coming out and being flagged. Nobody can tell you that this is the national curriculum. That is the beginning of the weaponization of ignorance. I identified weaponized ignorance for the first time in 1994 as an undergraduate. That was the first time I used that phrase. I could see the deliberate undereducation of the Nigerian child. So if we're talking weaponized ignorance, you must understand that it's not a one-line item. It's a systemic thing. The weaponized ignorance has affected the trade. You don't have tradesmen any longer. Where you have them, they are barely literate. You have tailors who do not even understand the geometry of the human body. So they sew for you sometimes. You wear a shirt and you find that one part is taller than the other side, and then it's looking like a carpenter sewed the shirt. That is part of the weaponized ignorance. Everything is degraded. The human capacity to imagine, to function, and to even execute instructions have been degraded when you deliberately ignore to train people to the point where a country as rich and blessed as Nigeria has over 130 million children. Those are the ones between the ages of 5 to 14 out of school, 30 million. What kind of future are you expecting from children that you are refusing to train?
So will you want to blame the ignorant for not understanding that the oppressor is after him?
You see, the Yorubas have a proverb I would attempt to translate. And what he says is that ẹni tó gbọ́n la kọ́ ẹni tó gọ̀. The wise will teach the ignorant. But that presumes the readiness of the ignorant to learn. Unfortunately for us in Nigeria, especially those of us who presume to know, who are looking to teach, we're competing with a system that has weaponized even religion. Religion in its root comes from the Latin word religare, or you go to Old French, religio. Both of them means the same thing, to bind. But what is being bound by religion is the human imagination, which is the seat of our creativity. You then come to a place like Nigeria where religion has been weaponized to the point where charlatans are touting all kind of funny precepts and principles and dogmas are being taught, and people are embracing them as truth. People are telling you they enter toilet in one European country to come out in the toilet in another European country. People are telling you to fast and pray for Nigeria when they didn't fast and pray to build all the prayer cities and redemption camps that they are building all over the place. People are telling you to embrace Sharia. Meanwhile, the Sharia that they are embracing here does not build the kind of fantastic countries that have been built in the Emirates or even in Saudi Arabia. Religion has become a destructive force, an excuse for not doing anything, for inaction, for cowardice. So when you talk about ignorance, you must understand that in the Nigerian context, the ignorance that is already weaponized against the people by the refusal to educate or by the intention to miseducate is compounded by the fact that religion is layered on top of that, and it does not promote the use of the human intellect. If anything, he says, leave everything to God.
I have read your books. The Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution and this, Do Not Die in Their War. Look at this. If you read these books, you will walk through the mind of the author, Delifa Rotimi. So having read your work, I come out with the conclusion that he is a radical intellectual. Then if he's an intellectual and he resides in an ignorant nation, has he failed?
Well, let me put it this way. When I started out, I imagined that I could change my country by sheer force of persuasion. And then I found very quickly that I embraced what I these days describe as the Elijah complex. The Elijah complex is the one that leads you into believing that you are the only one that knows how to do it. And if you can't do it, then it simply can't be done. Remember, Elijah was busy calling fire from heaven, burn the offering, pour water and all. He did all those mighty works, and then he heard that Jezebel was after him, and he ran to the cave of Adullam and he started crying, I'm the only one that is left of all your God said, shut up. I got 7,500 you know nothing about. So I learned very early in life that I must never presume that simply because of the insignificance of my own contribution or my inability to dent the mountain that I see in front of me, I learned not to despair. I learned very quickly that I should just play my own role. Other people will do their own part. When the time comes for a generation that will make use of what I have written, of the things I'm saying, they will find their way to rectitude.
This generation is already reading you.
I had to get away from assuming that this generation would do it. When I was embracing my Elijah complex, I was assuming that because I see hopelessness in this generation, I see a defeated people. I see a people born defeated, willing to accept all kind of madness. Even when you speak on their behalf, they are the first to cast you down for simply having the audacity to say what they are refusing to say, even though you are speaking to their pains.
Do you care?
The point where I stopped caring was when I arrived at the position that I'm actually not writing for this generation. I'm not talking for this generation.
You said you are writing for history.
I'm writing for posterity. I'm writing for another generation that will come on. The truth is the truth is the truth, regardless of where and when it is spoken.
But I'm saying you have written for this generation.
I have written. It is for this generation to decide whether what I am saying works for them. I know that what I have said, the things I have written, are found on truthful precepts. Now, whether my society is accepting of the truth or not is a different ballgame entirely. But I have evolved to a point, perhaps of arrogance, where I am not bothered by the acceptance of my society. I couldn't care less whether this society embraces me or accepts the truth of what I have said to them, because I know of the timelessness of truth and the godly nature of truth. I know that as long as the things I have written are found on truth, it will resonate with a generation that desires to return to normalcy. They would also be able to retrace their steps back to the point where we lost the battle, if we lose the battle. But it is critical that we tell these truths.
State Affairs with Edmondo Below is live.
It was a wise man that said that the truth that is untold is not the truth. It is only the truth we tell that is the truth. If you know a truth and you prefer to keep quiet and you found a reason to be silent, the reality is that that truth is not told. Truth dies in darkness. I think it was the New York Times that had that as their masthead at some point in the past, or maybe Washington Post. I'm not sure which one now. But truth dies in darkness. If you do not articulate the truth, it dies.
But this generation loves you.
See, this generation looks for messiahs. I am not a messiah. I'm just Delefaro to me, another Nigerian, Watts and Hall, with all the weaknesses of every other human being. I don't need them to love me. I need them to act on the truth that they know. We find it very comfortable and convenient to point fingers at our ruiners. But the reality is that the true change that Nigeria desires or demands or needs has to come from the individual coming to the knowledge of the fact that we cannot continue like this. If there is no personal regeneration, there cannot be national regeneration.
If there is ignorance, we need a lot of mental work to drive them.
There are two levels of ignorance.
Okay.
There is the ignorance that is visited on a man, and then there is the willful ignorance. The most damaging of ignorance that I have seen in Nigeria is the willful ignorance. The one where a man is confronted with the truth. He is right there in front of him. He can see it. You've articulated it. The evidences of his own eyes, his ears, and his God-given brain is suggestive of the fact that he should do a course correction. But the person's ability to process the truth has been impaired either by religion, ethnicity, or sometimes a combination of both. They simply cannot process the information. You're telling someone that the fact that this man is from your ethnic nation does not mean it's the best thing for our country. And you say, no, it's our turn. Yes, it's our turn. I've heard you. But would you employ this person in your poultry if you were running a poultry? Say, like, would you have this person as your son-in-law? You say, God forbid. But you want this person in charge of the Commonwealth? The biggest problem we have in Nigeria, yes, we have ignorance, but the willfulness of the ignorance, the deliberate refusal to be enlightened, to be educated. You even see certificated morons, people with PhDs, master degree, and they are refusing the evidence of their own eyes. That has nothing to do with, it's not plain ignorance, that's deliberate, it's intentional. Somebody is being intentionally blind. I'm saying remove the blindfold in your eyes. I can see look at this. Hello, I've been told it's white. Okay, they told you it's white. I'm showing you it's red. You can see it. You say, no, I don't want to look at it. That is willful ignorance. And that is the most common kind of ignorance in Nigeria. How did you develop your consciousness? My brother, sometimes I wish I knew. If I know how to get rid of it, I'll get rid of it because ignorance is bliss. I've carried this around with me since before I was 17 years old. Let's just say sense was slapped into me. I recounted the incident in Do Not Die in Their War, where a policeman slapped me when I was in Oscars. That was what slapped me awake to the reality of the country in which I live. I have always had this romantic view of life. I grew up a bookworm. And if you're a reader, you're really bound to a geographical location. So I read all kinds of books and I saw myself as a citizen. I had all the lofty ideas of citizenship in my head, all kinds of lofty ambitions for the country, Nigeria. We were the ones termed the greater tomorrow. I entered secondary school in 78. We were the ones who Uncle Bola came and informed that we were the young pioneers. So we had lofty ideas in our heads, and I grew up with that. Nigeria was supposed to be a great country. All kinds of lofty slogans were very, very trendy in my youth. Operation Feed the Nation, all kinds of big words. So I grew up believing that a great country, the giant of Africa, we were the ones who were there fighting in SWAPO, in Namibia, offering succor to the South Africans. That was the Nigeria in which I grew up. I grew up in a Nigeria where when I went to UCH as a young boy, maybe must have been about 7, 8, I still have the memory. Nurses in dainty dresses with dainty caps on their head, they will bring my medicine in cups, plastic dispensing cups in UCH. I can still remember. I went back to the same UCH a few years ago before when my late father-in-law was admitted there. It stinks to high heaven. Nothing new, just you find them painting a sepulcher. That is the Nigeria that we have today. So it's, to be conscious is very easy if you had grown up in my generation, because there were too many good things happening all around us. We didn't know at the time that we were merely witnessing the beginning of the decadence of Nigeria, but it was too easy to be conscious.
What kind of books did you read?
Name it, I read it. I went to Fidelity Grammar School, and I think before I was even in Form 3, I'd read practically every book in that library that wasn't a science textbook.
That wasn't a science
If it wasn't
textbook.
a science textbook, I'd read it.
Did you read books on power?
Everything and anything that was... I was just a voracious reader, and I enjoyed reading.
And what did reading do to your mind?
It blew my mind up. I lost all sense of boundaries. You can't be a reader and be bound to a geographical location. When I was in Fidelity Grammar School, they had a very rich library of Commonwealth literature.
In secondary school?
In secondary school. Commonwealth literature. So folk tales from New Zealand, from Australia, from Canada, all kind of Commonwealth countries donated books, literature books, compilation, antonyms. You had all kind of folk tales, volumes and volumes of them. It was fun. It was an escape. I'm right there in the bushes of Fiditi, but I'll be in the backwaters of New Zealand and Australia. I read Huckleberry Finn. I read all those books when I was much. By the time we were in like Form 4, there was no James Ali Chase to read any longer because there was nothing else to do but read.
So while you were reading, did you at any time feel you could change the world?
You know, the mind of a child does not embrace impossibilities. A child naturally believes that anything it can imagine can be achieved. I didn't grow up thinking I was going to change Nigeria. I didn't think there was anything to change. I wasn't conscious enough to realize there was anything to change. I just grew up believing that this country had all the potentials to become one of the greatest in the world. It wasn't until the time when we were entering universities in the mid-80s. I entered university in 1985. It wasn't until around that time that you became more exposed to the madness of Nigeria. My brain opening slap was received in 1984.
In Ife?
In Ife. Well, that was 83, 84. That was when I got my brain openings. No, 84, 85. But I entered last with 85, 86. So it was during my time in Oscars that I received that slap. What that slap did to me was that it forced me to recalibrate the way I engaged with my country. I hadn't done anything. I was merely going to class to read, even though there had been some unrest earlier in the day. And I walked into a policeman who was assigned to the neighborhood to keep the peace, so that students who are intent on rioting would not be able to riot. It was clear to anyone looking at me that I was going to read. I had my books on me. The man saw me. Simply because I didn't run like everyone he might have been encountering, he slapped me so hard that my books fell down. And the way he looked at me, I knew that even if he had cared to shoot, nothing would have happened. And by the time we grew older, we heard that multiple times, uttered by law enforcement agents. I'll shoot you and nothing will happen. So from that moment, I realized that it wasn't the nice rosy world that I imagined I was living in. So I became more conscious of all the madness that I had probably overlooked or not seen. And the more I looked, the more I saw.
Your books fell down when he slapped you?
Oh, yes, he did.
Did you pick up the books?
In all honesty, I can't even remember now, if the truth be told. The only thing I remember is that slap rewired my brains. It was a brain rewiring exercise. Any illusion I ever had about Nigeria disappeared in that moment. Any illusion of citizenship I had ever harbored evaporated with that slap. I knew from that moment that I live in a criminal empire where I actually am not deserving of any right as far as the operators of the system are concerned.
And how did you make up your mind to survive in that state?
Put it this way. The real victim is the person who is unconscious or unaware of his state of existence. I am a Nigerian. I wear no glasses in relation to my country. I see Nigeria in its ugly nudity at any point in time.
Ugly nudity?
Oh, very ugly country.
Your country?
Oh, very, very ugly country.
Are you ugly?
Unfortunately, every Nigerian is rendered ugly by his circumstances unless we continue to lie to ourselves. I spent 3 weeks in prison. I had no business being there. And I saw multiple persons who had no business in that prison either.
In Ekiti?
Yes. Multiple persons. There were 11 persons in my cell. I vouchsafed that at least 9 of them had no business being there.
What were they doing there?
The Nigerian state decided that they should spend some time there. Maybe somebody offended someone, maybe some civil case that should have been settled in a civil manner or in civil court was criminalized because somebody knew policeman.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
By Olunloyo, when he was taking on you in his office, your kinsman walked in. Your kinsman, Alhaji Olatunji Mohammed, the deputy governor, walked in and said, "Shut up. You want to respond to His Excellency?" You know, I could imagine what you were going through at that time. What was it like? What was happening? A governor and his deputy taking on a journalist at the same time.
Well, I wasn't surprised because Alhaji Olatunji Mohammed had always been a loyalist of the conservative bent, which the MPN represented at that period. And he was a very bold person. He was literally the only legislator between 1979 and 1980. He was the minority leader anyway. There were probably 2 or so. It was an overwhelming UPN house. But he stood his ground on all issues, even when he knew that his opinions were unpopular. But the MPN had its own crowd in Ogbomoso, where I was born. And the reason was not far-fetched. Ogbomoso had a son called Samuel Oladoke Akintola, who the people in that ancient city believe till tomorrow, mostly, that he was egged into assassination by the deeds of Chief Obafemi Awolowo and his supporters. When we were young, Akintola and Awolowo would come to Ogbomoso in a chopper helicopter, and they would land. I'm talking about 1960, 61, 1959. I was barely 7 then, because I was born in 1952, you see. Anyway, by 1960, during independence, we were always seeing that I was 8 years old, but I recognized everything that was happening. They would land at the public field, the two of them resplendent in their agbadas. As early as those period, I was very, very mindful of the sartorial elegance of Akintola over Awolowo. Awolowo wouldn't care, really.
Sartorial elegance?
Oh, yeah.
You sure?
Oh, yes. Akintola will give you either a pure wool under shining lace, but more importantly about Akintola were his shoes. As a young person, I was able to perceive this just in the same manner that I knew that I was going to be a journalist. As early as 1962, age 10, I was reading the Morning Post, the Tribune, and the Daily Times because my father was an education officer. But more importantly, I would go into the Ogbomoso Public Library, and I remember very well Mr. Adeosun, who was the librarian. I was 10 years old. I would sit down, peruse all books interminably. So you see, I knew I was going to be a journalist. And my teacher in primary 6, he was an intern then, Mr. Oladoye from Iwo, told everybody who cared to listen that Dr. Duneladi will be a journalist. He told Mr. Ajani, our headmaster, I attended Ushukpa Baptist Day School together with the former governor, Alawa Kala. You know, he was a year my senior, or two years my senior then. I finished in 64. He around 1962, I believe. So that got into my head that I was going to be a journalist. I was reading everything that was readable. So, and here we are. Those experiences, surprisingly, and as God will have it, are now the basis for my confidence in the profession.
You paid dearly for it, because your kinsman Olatunji Mohammed reprimanded you.
He did.
The governor reprimanded you. But before I leave the Olunloyo story, I was asking myself, Edmond Obilo, what would you do if a governor sauntered into the studio and asked, where is Edmond Obilo? Where is Edmond Obilo? Because Olunloyo came into the premises and asked, where is Dotun Oyelade? And he took on everyone. Was the propaganda launched under Bola Ige so vehement that the MPN said, we must deal with these reporters and their managers?
There was no question about it. The truth of the matter is we were unsparing. And majority of
It is Splash 105.5 FM, the Integrity Station. The Dele Farotimi interview is on. Dele Farotimi is the author of the books Imperatives of the Nigerian Revolution and Do Not Die in Their War. Dele Farotimi on State Affairs. Chapter 7, the Fourth Republic and the Consequence of Hubris. Tell me about it.
When you have a situation where a country has become as weakened as our own is, and the operators of the system continue to believe that they can sustain that system without change, the hubris will blow up in their face at some point.
What kind of change are you looking at?
A country that works for the average man on the street.
You said revolution.
What is a revolution?
Yes.
A revolution simply means turn around. The word revolution comes from the French word revolver. Revolver means to turn around. Nigeria is walking inexorably towards the edge of the cliff. There is a reason why Campbell, the former U.S. ambassador, predicted the death of Nigeria by 2016. If you read his book, Nigeria Dancing at the Brink. He wrote that book based off CIA scenarios that had already gamed the destruction of Nigeria based off what they were saying, and obviously based off the evil that they were also perpetrating, and they have continued to perpetrate against our country. So they had objective basis for concluding that Nigeria will unravel by 2016. But given our historical cowardice, some of the indices that they had factored into their calculation didn't hold true. For instance, Jonathan did not find the courage to stand against Buhari in 2015. He walked away. That was not African. The average.
He didn't find the courage.
He didn't find the courage.
What did you expect him to do?
Would you have seen an Obasanjo walk away? It had to be a Jonathan to walk away. That's the first person in Nigeria who could not even guarantee his own election.
He didn't win?
Since when has that mattered? Did Tinubu win? Did Buhari win in 2019?
Who won in 2019?
I actually believe that Atiku won. I didn't vote in that election cycle. I wasn't partisan, but I believe that Atiku actually won that election cycle. But you have a situation where Jonathan was so... People would like to say that he was a peaceful man. I don't think he was a peaceful man. I think he was just a coward. It is not in the way of Africans to walk away from power. He found the grace to walk away. But when you look at his antecedents, you can understand why he was the kind of person who would have walked away.
Was he bullied out of power?
More or less. He was also, think about it. What qualifies a man to be deputy governor in Nigeria? The only thing that qualifies you to be deputy governor in Nigeria is that you are not a threat to the governor. You have no aspiration to be governor. The governor does not feel threatened by your presence. That is why you are a deputy governor. And to become a vice president, with the possible exception of Shetima, who was always a man of some character, prior to Shetima, it has never been that an ambitious politician will be kept in the office of the vice president.
Atiku Abubakar.
Atiku Abubakar was being groomed ostensibly to take over from Obasanjo. Yeah. It wasn't his choice. Obasanjo was not the kind of person who was going to go and bring someone. Obasanjo came into his own by 2003. And by the time he came into his own, he didn't want Atiku as his deputy any longer. Let's be clear about that. It is not in the way of Nigerians to have a powerful deputy. You always wanted a colorless, non-threatening person.
Was Oshibajo colorless?
Oshibajo had a very good public persona to sell, but he was a placeholder at the end of the day. He was kept there for Tinubu.
But he wanted the place too.
Whether he wanted it or not is a different ball game.
He didn't act the role of a placeholder.
But that is why he never got it. He didn't have the bloody-mindedness to get it, even though he was the number 2.
He was weak too?
Look, to be president of Nigeria, there is a level of ego that you must be seized by. To even lead any collective, you must have a belief in your own capacity to lead. There is a bit of ego that comes with that. Now, Oshibajo, luckily for me, was my teacher, so at least I am familiar, a little familiar with his person. Oshibajo was not a man that you feel threatened by. He was always a mild-mannered person. Nobody will consider him an ambitious Nigerian politician. So he was kept there because he didn't threaten the office holder. The office holder didn't feel threatened by his presence. Jonathan was a colorless person who became vice president because the president was comfortable with him in that office. He didn't feel threatened. The man did not come across as somebody who was ambitious to become the president. So he became president in his own right. I think that was in 2011. In his own right. Remember, that was when they brought us the story of the shoeless man. A narrative was sold. But the minute it was shown the determination of the opposition, and they were telling us about the blood of baboons and dogs, the man took one look at the whole thing. Asasi was gone. The man came out and told all of you that he had Boko Haram in his cabinet. All the man wanted to do by 2015 was go back to his village in Yenagoa and enjoy his loot in peace. The Nigerian press had thoroughly demonized him, decimated his character in every way. The propaganda was vile. But the man also knew that those who were looking to get him out of office were not going to stop at anything. He was not unaware. All this one that Baraje was telling all of us years later, after the fact, about the importation of terrorists. Jonathan knew. He wasn't unaware.
And he couldn't stop it as president?
He was a weakling. That's the weakness to which I alluded. He probably didn't even know who to trust in his own circle, and he was an orphan in power. His political godfather, Obasanjo, had already left him.
Can a president be an orphan?
In Nigeria, when you have a system that is not rule-based, you can be a man in power and be powerless.
Chapter 9 of the book is the perfect storm and the inevitable implosions.
It's inevitable.
Do you have a date?
Frankly, I'm surprised that we are still here and it hasn't happened yet. But it's just a matter of time. The human spirit rebels against injustice.
Will it happen in Tinubu's time?
It might very well be what will happen by the time he's seeking a second term. Because he can't get popular support.
You sure?
Why would you vote a man that has ruined everybody's lives? The only people who have benefited from Tinubu's reign are the members of the reigning class. They've become richer of the sufferings of the people. It's just a matter of time. It's just a matter of time.
If you turn to page 223, let's turn to page 223. Page 223 is entitled The Change Manifesto. And the author writes here saying that what change exactly do we want? The vision must be clear and the mission must also have a level of clarity. The vision of the political change we seek in Nigeria must be the attainment of an egalitarian society, where there must be a level playing field for every of its citizenry to give expression to his or her God-given potentials. I think in expanding the scope of the proceeding, suggested direction for the change we seek, we may have an idea to borrow for Brian Stevenson when he said, "My work with the poor and the incarcerated has persuaded me that the opposite of poverty is not wealth. The opposite of poverty is justice." You like justice.
Without justice, we are no better than, in fact, we are worse than animals. In the absence of justice, we are worse than animals because even animals do justice to themselves. So if we who consider ourselves to be intelligent, higher animals are completely incapable of doing equity to each other in our dealings, how can we expect to live in a peaceful society?
Will you support Peter Obi in 2027?
That will be dependent on a whole lot of things. As things stand today, the ADC where Peter resides is the same as the APC of 2015. All I see is the person of Peter Obi. Outside of the person of Peter Obi, I don't see any reason why I would want to look in the direction of the ADC. What's his program? What are the programs the ADC intends to pursue? I'm not interested in a change of government. I'm interested in a change of systems. I want a different country. I don't believe that will happen just because Peter Obi is in the ADC. What is the ADC selling to the Nigerian people? The Nigerian people bought illusions in 2015. I don't want to buy an illusion in 2027. I believe in the character of Peter Obi. I know he's an uncommon politician, miles ahead of the peers with whom he struggles.
You know him well?
Let me put it this way. A person is as much of a problem for the Tinubu hegemony as Peter has been. And the EFCC has not managed to invite him to carry him. The DSS has no business calling him to order. ICPC has not sent him an invitation. And you are dealing with a system that is extremely vindictive. Bola Tinubu is by far one of the most vindictive of politicians, and he doesn't monkey about with power. He uses power. If he has an hammer with which to kill a fly, he wouldn't use a broom. And yet they are looking at Peter Obi. They can't call him to come and answer one case or the other.
Perhaps they are waiting for the right time.
When would the right time now come? This man has been the biggest bone in their throat for a few years now, and they find nothing to call him, to hang on him. He's no saint, and I don't expect him to be one. I'm not one, but I do have a lot of respect for a man that can keep his head high in the midst of all this madness. Malami bleated. They caged him. The ruffian of Kaduna, he spoke. They are already looking to cage him.
Can they cage him, Erufai?
If he has done anything deserving of being caged, I'll be the first to supply the padlock. But Peter Obi is there, he's walking around free, and they can't do jack to him. That should tell you something. If it's only because of that, it should be applauded. If I'm going to vote in the coming election, which I already seriously doubt, but if I will vote, if situations remain as they are, and Peter Obi is on the ballot, I'll vote for him.
Why not sure?
The question is this: what am I engaging with? Am I engaging with persons or am I engaging with programs? Showore, you ask, is he running as a politician or is he looking to crystallize a revolution? If he's running as a politician, it means he's playing politics, right? How well has he positioned his party? Can I take him serious as a political candidate? Has he sold? What are the programs that he's selling? I admire him as a person. I respect his doggedness. But when it comes to politics, I personally do not believe that even his party takes politics serious. It shouldn't be too difficult for a party that deems itself revolutionary to educate the Nigerian people about their objective conditions. How well that party has done that job will reflect in his fortunes at the elections. I am just not persuaded. I wish them good luck, but I'm just not persuaded.
Someday you will join a political party, right?
I'm not sure. Maybe I'll try to find one. The way I'm looking at Nigeria right now, I actually believe that it might very well be that we would have to build a political party from scratch. And it cannot be that we're looking to build a party. We have to look to build a movement based on ideas and then seek to galvanize the people behind those ideas. But the existing political parties have not suggested to me that they have found the capacity to mobilize the indifferent. And the larger percentage of Nigerians are completely indifferent to the process.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live. Splash.
àti oúnjẹ ìṣínú Sonia tomato mix ìfẹ́ rẹ̀ pọ̀ jọjọ Ramadan Kareem.
I be king, I'm the best my generation ever seen.
Being a broadcaster can be fun and glamorous. Being a broadcaster keeps you, the broadcaster, informed.
Being a broadcaster can be tasking, but quite rewarding.
But there's so much to broadcasting that even some broadcasters do not know.
Dreaming of a career in the dynamic world of broadcasting? Build a rock-solid foundation with us at Splash FM Media Academy. Dive deep into core areas like advertising, basic production, digital media, journalism, presentation and elocution, program management, fact-checking, news translation and presentation, and so much more. Admissions are ongoing. For more information, call 0705-439-3332, 0705-439-3332, or visit us at number 2 Adewumi Street, opposite White House, Felele, Ibadan, Oyo State. Splash FM Media Academy, preserving media integrity, one talent at a time.
Is it okay to make fun of our tooth gap? Let's have a talk. Colgate makes your teeth so strong. Stop cover your mouth. Not to do yanga with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. Zero cavities and fresh breath. If you use a Colgate paste. Not to do yanga with your smile. Brush your teeth with Colgate. Colgate, #1 oral care brand in the world.
Who care for your skin? Nivea. Would they make you they shine? Nivea. Now would they make you win? No. Nivea. Now Nivea lotion.
Make una ready to win una own share on the 3 billion where there inside the Nivea double the care, double the shine promo. Buy one bottle of Nivea lotion promo today. Scratch the card waiting for the bottle. Then dial *7022* your dial code hash. Follow the direction to win 1,000 naira recharge card instant. You also get the chance to fit win the draw of the Oga prize. Will be 3 SUV motor. Don't say we not tell you. And remember, say the promo go last till April 8, 2026.
During this blessed month of Ramadan, we begin with faith and the spirit of giving.
Families and neighbors come together by sharing delicious meals. From jollof rice to tomato stew, from moi moi to porridge beans, every meal is specially prepared and flavorful with Onga seasoning cubes. Together, we share not just food, but love with those who need it most.
Celebrate the blessings of this holy month with Onga seasoning cubes. Ramadan Kareem from Onga.
ní West Midlands Open University àmú kí ẹ̀kọ́ wà lárọ̀ọ́wọ́tó kó sì rọrùn lówó tí ò fani lápò yá. Ètò ìgbaniwọlé ń lọ lọ́wọ́lọ́wọ́ ó sì lè bẹ̀rẹ̀ ìrìnàjò ẹ̀kọ́ rẹ pẹ̀lú owó tó kéré tó $2,500 náírà fún abala ẹ̀kọ́ kọ̀ọ̀kan course unit yàn nínú àwọn ẹ̀ka ẹ̀kọ́ tó ní ìgbéléwọ̀n káàkiri gbogbo àgbáyé bíi information systems, computer science, cyber security, business administration, finance, public administration, marketing, economics, accounting, human resource management, mass communication àti educational management. Bóyá o ṣẹ̀ṣẹ̀ parí ilé-ìwé girama, direct entry àbí o fẹ́ ṣàyípadà HND sí degree university ó rọrùn pẹ̀lú WMOU. Kàn sí wa nílùú Èkó ní number 1A Ọba Akran Avenue Ìkẹjà. Níbàdàn a wà ní White House Adéwùmí Street Fẹ́lẹ́lẹ̀. Lábẹ́òkúta ICT Institute of Technology 52 Ìjẹ̀mà Àgbàdo Road. O tún lè kàn sí www.westmidlands.edu.ng tàbí kó o pè 0704-700-0167. Tẹ̀lé wa lórí ìkànnì ìbánidọ́rẹ̀ẹ́ @WMOU Nigeria. West Midlands Open University. So àfojúsùn nípa ètò ẹ̀kọ́ rẹ di mímúṣẹ.
gẹ́gẹ́ bí ìyá rere àtọ́níṣègùn eyín mo mọ àǹfààní pàtàkì eyín funfun tó gbó keke pẹ̀lú ẹ̀rín músẹ́ àti èémí àkọ́tún nítorí èyí ni mo ṣe ń fún ẹbí mi nígboyà pẹ̀lú ọṣẹ ìfọyín Pepsodent Triple Protection 123 ọṣẹ ìfọyín mẹ́ta lọ́kan ni tó ń dáàbò bo eyín wọn lọ́wọ́ ihò eyín ó ń fún wọn léyín tó funfun nẹ́nẹ́ àti èémí àkọ́tún ọṣẹ ìfọyín mẹ́ta nínú ẹyọ kan Pepsodent Triple Protection 123.
Every day we need a good time. So smooth with Sosa. Sosa apple and orange flow. Sosa. Cranberry mixed berries and orange passion mango. Drink Sosa. So smooth. Sosa. Drink Sosa. I love it, taste of Sosa.
Grab a bottle of Sosa and enjoy the refreshment in every sip. Sosa. So smooth.
Splash FM 105.5.
State Affairs with Edmondo Bilo is live.
So let me hear from you. 070694 93000. 070144 757 70. Call the radio station. Good morning.
Hello, good morning, Dr. Bilo.
I can hear you.
Yeah, this is Dr. Ken from Edition.
Thank you, Dr. Ken.
Yeah, the kind of revolutions that I think Nigeria needs now is the kind of revolutions that will help us solve the issue of voter empathy. The government in place that tries to organize elections are working towards making sure that the people that will come out will be less, so that they can make use of the little people that come out to do whatever evil they want to do in terms of manipulation of results. Can we have our mosques, our churches, our traditional leaders coming out to educate people on the right, on the power they have with the voters card? The revolutions that we miss now is the revolution that will encourage citizens to come out and voice out. And the only way you can voice out is through voting. We cannot encourage the situation whereby we come out with, we don't even have the arms to face the people in authority. But if we can have this total education of enlightening people on the importance of the power of the voters card and coming out to do their right, the civic right on the day of election, it will be difficult for people to manipulate their results. So that's the kind of revolution I expect us to have now. I want mosques, I want churches, I want people, I want media houses to educate us that if we get it wrong in 2027, we have ourselves to blame for the next 6 or 7 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The lines are open. Good morning.
Hello, Edmond.
Hello.
I'm SG.
Eh,
from Makpete.
Happy to hear your voice.
Thank you. You see, I don't know what happened. Every time we are about to have a good leader, something will just happen and we will miss the chance. I'm referring to how we missed the chance during former military leader. What is the name from Kano? Remind me.
Abacha?
No, not Abacha. The former. What is the name?
Just go on, make your point.
All right. Then, when we were about to have Abiola in Nizi, and all over the world, if you are not fortunate to have a right-thinking leader, it's usually very difficult for that nation to break from poverty, corruption, and all those vices. We need somebody has to lead, even if we are all ready to follow him. If there's nobody to follow, it's in our own system. It's not easy for everybody to speak with one voice. We need somebody to show the way as a role model. Then all the other people will start to follow him. We are praying. I hope we will not accuse of into religious or something. The fact is that we need a leader that will start the way forward. Thank you. God bless you.
Thank you, SB Abuduni. Thank you. The lines are open. Let's hear from you.
Hello, Edmond.
Good morning.
Hello?
I can hear you.
Good morning. Yes, my name is Suleiman Machu Babatunde, calling back again. You see, Edmond, I agree with your guest this morning, to everything he has opined, except one. And it's not as if I'm disagreeing with him, but I want to correct the impression in the minds of the generality of people. Now, we tend to look at religion as, like they said, that is the opium of the masses. No. If you study religion very well, you discover that religion beckons for knowledge. In the Holy Bible, the Bible says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Now, what does that suggest to you? It's suggesting that we need knowledge for us to be practitioner of religion, to understand the religion. Now, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I'm a Christian, said something. He said, seek knowledge even as far as sin. Sin is present China, and it's assumed to be the farthest part of the world. It says seek knowledge even to that place. Now, what am I saying? Those religions now that we think religions are the one bringing problem. No, it's because those of us who practice the religion does not understand what we practice. Now, Apostle Paul in the Holy Bible, he was going around preaching, and he came across a city called Berean, and he was so astounded by the Berean Christians. What happened? When he teaches them and tells them this is what God says, this Berean Christian will go home, study what he said, and come back to him and say, oh, Paul, what you said is right, because we have gone home and studied it. So it is, the religion has no problem. It is the practitioner, because we have failed to seek knowledge. Now, Jesus is saying in Matthew chapter 7, verse 21, he said, not all those who call me Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of God, except those who does the will of my Father which is in heaven. What is Jesus saying there? Jesus is only saying that, look, it is not religion that is important, it is spirituality. Now, if you are a Christian or a Muslim, and you don't love your God with all your mind, with all your strength, and with all your power, and you don't love your fellow neighbor as yourself, you are not a spiritual person. You are just being religious, and religion will not take anybody to heaven except those who practice spirituality, who practice the dictates of religion. And so that's where I want to come in and tell you that no, religion is not the opium of the masses, it's the savior of the masses, those who actually knows what religion is. So thank you this morning. God bless you for this educative and informing program.
Don't go yet.
Thank you. Good morning.
Don't go yet. Are you there?
Okay.
Where is heaven?
Pardon?
Where is heaven?
Heaven, as I studied in the Bible, we have heaven up there. But I want to tell you, at the end of the day, heaven will descend here on earth and will establish the reign here on earth. But as it were, God is in heaven there, but he's preparing. Don't forget, Jesus said, I go to prepare a place for you. So that place that Jesus is preparing will descend thereafter to this earth, and here will reign here on earth.
When you say up there, because whenever I'm in the plane, I feel sometimes that I'm approaching heaven.
No, you can't get there, Edmond.
I can't get there.
It is farther than what you think. It is farther than that height. That's just a firmament. Where you was in the sky is a firmament. And there's a place, we have first, second, and third heavens where God resides currently.
How do we get there?
You get there through doing the will of God. When you practice the will of God, you practice love. You love God with all your heart and not deception, and you love your neighbor as yourself. Then you get to heaven when you cease to breathe. Which is the end of every man.
So it's an abstract journey, not real journey.
It's a real journey that has to be done spiritually, not physically. This physical body, that's what the Bible says, that this body will remain here on earth and it will rot here on earth. But the physical, the spiritual body, which is our spirit, is going to, and our soul is the one that will do the translocation to heaven.
So are you saying that heaven is not a physical place? Hello?
Heaven is a spiritual place. It's a physical place that you can see when you get there, but it's only the spiritual that can be there.
That means I cannot see heaven with my physical eye.
No, you can't see heaven with your physical eye. But when you do those things that qualifies you to get to heaven, and you get there, you will see it with your physical eyes.
Thank you for educating me.
God bless you, sir.
Thank you. Who wants to go to heaven? Let me see your hands up. All right. Everybody here wants to go to heaven. But you have to die first, right? Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Hello, Baba.
Edmond. When this is your old man. When MK Abiola lost his wife, many people went to sympathize with him. He addressed him. I heard him. He said, everybody wants to go to heaven, but you don't want to die. Without dying, you cannot be in heaven. Look at that. Many have passed, many pastors, that is what that man is really repeating to you there. Look, let me stop at that. You can't get to the end of that question. Heaven. Now, what is happening in Nigeria? We should pray because Nigeria is already invaded by Donald Trump. Soldiers that are here. They are not here for nothing. They are performing. They are taking their records. And when it is time to seize Nigeria, nobody. All those that are prepared will say, like myself, I will say, I have said it in a number of occasions that we're not independent, we are under America. God bless Nigeria.
Baba.
What is going to Iran, what Israel and America is doing to Iran now is an example. Very many years ago, I am proud to say, even when there was no GSM, we had people in my barrack. I'm the only soldier that asked my phone. There's one Ajala Destina appears when Nigeria was to normalize relations with Israel. Egypt, because of Egypt, Nigeria broke a relation with Israel. Egypt already had normalized a relation with Israel. I came on air that day. I said, why are we waiting behind? Egypt has normalized relation with Israel. What are we waiting for? The following with Nigeria normalized relation with Israel. Now see what we are experiencing. If there is any reason for Israel to invade Nigeria now, Israel will be in the front, America will be behind. God bless you, Edmond.
Baba, don't go. Are you there?
Hello?
Yes, Baba, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you, Edmond.
If there is a war now, will you go to war?
I will go.
Baba, can you still shoot?
I can shoot. I can throw bomb.
Once a soldier, always a soldier.
There was time I told you there is no reason for any soldier to take over, to take over a government in Nigeria. I said it. I was saying it, and I said if anybody tries it, I will wear uniform to fight that soldier. If Nigeria has come past that period when the soldier will say fellow Nigerians, that is not the problem they are solving. Tell me, is there a soldier today? We don't have soldiers today to say fellow Nigerians. Edmond, don't let me commit myself further. God bless you.
Thank you, Baba. Baba is ready to go to war. Baba is ready to go to war. Okay, let's take that last call.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah. This is Kimbolu.
Yeah, Kimbolu.
Now, I want to make my contribution about what your guest the other time was saying about education. See, though the society that we find ourselves, it's like what we said. Social media used to display some things to our young ones, whereby if you look critically, you see that all those things are fake, not the real life they are living. It's just that you wanna be life, the life that I wish to be living. And see some of them using AI generated pictures as a profile. So now education is very, very good. It is the backbone of every development in any country. But when our politicians and our leaders, when they are aggravating or when they are promoting or rewarding what is let me use entertainment. When they start to reward more people in the entertainment industry than people that are achieving greatness in education. Somebody will really be Niger and they will call that person to their own office, give him an ambassadorial post, give him land, give him motto, all those things. Whether a first class graduate, best graduating student in a university or in a polytechnic will not be given anything. Even the institution will not even recognize such person. So it's that one move people to do well in the education. Because people are no more paying so much attention on academics anymore now. They are now going outside, entertainment industry, and all those areas, all those that we are now.
Thank you. Thank you. I have to go now. Let me say, I don't have to die to go to heaven. I have built my heaven, and I operate in my heaven. I have joy in my heaven. I am in heaven. If you want to feel my heaven, come closer. I am feeling my heaven. I wish you your heaven. Next Saturday is another time. The next program is Ijoba Tiwa with Seun Special. It's a special program from a special radio station. I am Edmondo Pillow. Remain special.